Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My entitled mom tries to force me to clean my room on a Saturday. After that, am I the jerk for not letting my friend bring his service dog over? And after that, my mom keeps volunteering me for church stuff. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to clean her room. But I like my room smelling like cheese. So please smash that like button. And subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My entitled mom tries to force me to clean my room on a Saturday. I, 16 female, live with my mom who's 47. We've always had very different ways of living. I prefer to let things get really messy and then clean them up, and she prefers to clean as she goes. As a high school student taking a couple of advanced classes, my week can get pretty stressful. And I figured out early in the year that I need something to look forward to during the week, aka what I call a rest day, where I do absolutely nothing at all but read, watch TV, and eat snacks. Right now, this day is a Saturday, as I have school during the week and I work on Sundays. My mom has never understood this. Today, Saturday, I agreed to do a couple of small chores but stopped there. Earlier, she asked me to clean off my dresser in bed, a task that would take at least an hour. So I politely told her that today is my rest day and I'm not doing it. Also, my neck and arm are really hurting because I apparently did something while doing another chore, so I wasn't having it. She got upset and said that it wouldn't take me that long and I should just do it. I told her no, repeating that I need one day a week to just decompress and do nothing. She then started yelling that in that case, I need to pick a day to do cleaning. I decided on Wednesday, as that's normally my most free day of the week. She then started lecturing me that she doesn't want to hear me complain come Wednesday. A few hours later, she saw me on the couch watching a movie while she was mopping and said, "You know, I was planning on doing some of that cleaning together, but if you do it later, then it's just going to be you." She then started lecturing me again about how she doesn't get a rest day and kept muttering under her breath and trying to get me to do it today. So, am I the jerk for refusing? Edit. I think some people got the wrong idea, so I'll try to clear things up. Firstly, when I say stuff is on my bed, I mean the back of my bed, like the headboard. There's a built-in shelf. I don't eat in my room, so there's no food or dishes sitting out. Mold is one of my biggest pet peeves. My room absolutely doesn't smell, and there's nothing on the floor. My mom and I made the arrangement of rest days months ago when I realized my mental health was in decline. I needed something to look forward to. My mom supported this decision. Because of this, I do more schoolwork and chores during the week. The reason I estimated it would take an hour for me to finish is because a lot of the general clutter on my desk doesn't have a place to go. I have a bunch of books up there, and my bookshelf is full. Where do they go? I have some souvenirs from camp, and my desk is full. Where do they go? Hopefully, you can see the reason this would give me a lot of anxiety. I also had no idea that my room bothered my mom so much. Lastly, I don't completely disregard the rules of the household. If I make something for lunch, I clean it up, regardless of what day it is. If it's Saturday and my mom asks me to take out the trash or do some other small chore that will take less than 5 minutes, I'm in. And for those of you who are curious, the clutter has not spread out of my room. Hopefully, I gave some more context here. You're the jerk. If your dresser and bed are getting so messy it would take an hour to clean them, you need to be cleaning more consistently. Your mother shouldn't have to be hounding you to make that happen. Stop being a slob, and she won't have to micromanage when things get done, and you can rest when you please. She just doesn't understand? Oh honey, she does understand. And I promise, your mom never gets a rest day where she doesn't have to do anything at all, not even for an hour. You're the jerk, but you're 16, so it's kind of expected. You're the jerk. Clean your room. It's not cute to be messy and gross. All the TikToks about depression rooms have encouraged the idea that it's cool to live in squalor. It isn't, and it often makes the house smell. If you don't want to do it every Saturday, then keep it clean on a daily basis. When you move out, you can then be a slob to your heart's content. Not the jerk. My mom used to try pulling this crap on me too. Eventually, it got so bad that I straight up told her if she didn't lay off, I'd start spreading lies about her boyfriend that would totally ruin their lives. She started crying and asked how I could say such a thing. I told her straight up, you push someone far enough, don't be surprised when they bite back. Well, long story short, my mom got out of hand again about a month later, telling me to clean my cat's litter box, even though I had already changed it out twice that month. I held true to my word, and her loser boyfriend decided their relationship wasn't worth dealing with the backlash of me and my drama after I told everyone in the family some horrible things about him. Yeah, they were all lies, but I'm a good liar. Now my mom is depressed, but at least I can watch my anime in peace now and stay in goblin mode. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her mom? Please let us know. You ever start to wonder if those child-free people are onto something? Am I the jerk for not letting my friend bring his service dog over? I'm male, 39. My friend, male, 38, recently got a service dog. It's a diabetic alert dog. The issue arises in that he wants to bring it to my house when I host hangouts and parties. I'm not much of a dog person and really don't want it in my house. It's a breed that sheds a lot, and I don't want to have to deal with dog hair in my house. Also, my kids regularly play in our yard, and I don't want them to encounter any of the mess that the dog would leave behind. I've spent the last 10 years in this house, turning it into a place my friends, family, and I could hang out. I have a pool, I built a bar in my basement, those types of upgrades. I offered to meet out at a restaurant or someone else's place and to host less, but my house is the preferred destination among everyone else. I have amenities that others don't, and there are no expensive food and bar tabs at my place. I host a lot during football season and other major sporting events, with some general hangouts in between. I told my friend that his dog wasn't welcome. I offered to pay for a monitoring device he can use while at my house, but he didn't take that offer well. He let me know he wasn't happy and recently missed our Super Bowl get-together. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. It's your home. You can invite whoever you want. You have a no-dog rule. You actually made an effort to accommodate him. He hasn't always had this dog, so what was he doing before? He can ask and you can say no. Obviously, don't be surprised if your friendship changes or goes away completely. You're going to get a lot of "you're the jerk" votes just because it's a legitimate service dog, but people fail to realize you can't force your dog in private homes. That is your space to do as you please. I'm amazed at how many people here think OP is the jerk. What is he supposed to do? Dog hair gets everywhere. Like what? The friend survived without the dog prior. I'm sure he can do it for a few hours. It's honestly not surprising considering the huge number of extreme dog lovers in this sub. There was a post a few weeks ago where a woman, OP, dog sat her daughter's dogs for free for years. The daughter traveled often for her job. Then OP's other daughter gave birth to OP's first grandchild, and OP wanted to spend more time with her grandchild by babysitting. The issue was that the grandchild's parents didn't want their newborn to be around the two dogs that were described by OP as well-behaved but rambunctious. So OP tells her daughter with the dogs she can't dog sit them anymore, which made the daughter mad. The judgment here was that OP was the jerk. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or not? Please let us know. My mom keeps volunteering me for church stuff. I, 32 female, have dealt with my mom, who's 61, volunteering me and my things for most of my adult life. If someone reaches out to ask for something, she says I can do it, and then texts, "Call me. It's not an emergency, but important." Most of the time, I just give in and do it, but constantly remind her how much I detest being voluntold to do something. If the person needs something that I can help provide, they can reach out to me themselves. Today, I had 2 missed calls and a text. "Call me. Not an emergency, but very important." So I called her back. She told me that the youth pastor was needing another easel for the service that the youth was putting on, and she said that I had one that I could bring. She asked if I would be okay with that. I said no. This immediately ticked her off. "It wouldn't hurt you to bring it." I'm not dragging it all over the place. "It would be a big help to me." It would have been a big help to someone else that you could have told to text or call me about it. You don't have the right to volunteer my time and my things to other people. "What about all of the things we do for you?" For this, she was starting to list off a bill she is helping me pay, and the fact that we went to dinner for my birthday, or lunches that we occasionally get. I helped remodel her house. I fix her computer all the time. I clean her house. I do yard work for her because my dad is unable to. I house sit when they're on vacation, which is a lot. That's just listing a few things that I do for them. You don't get to try and guilt trip me. The answer is no. This youth pastor has access to multiple different routes to get an easel. She does production work with one of the schools as well as the community theater. All that would have a spare easel, used for show postings and such, that she could borrow for the day. I don't want my things damaged or loaned out to people to wait weeks or months to get back. If the youth pastor had texted me or called me, I might have been inclined to oblige and figure out how to get my easel, which is not small or collapsible, to and from the church. However, my mom simply said that I would be happy to take it without asking me beforehand. My sister said that I don't have to readily lend my things if I don't want to. Am I the jerk for putting my foot down? Not the jerk. Your mother won't stop doing this until there are consequences for her actions. She wants to be the hero that helped, which is why she doesn't direct them to ask you. Tell her that the answer will always be no, but that people are welcome to contact you directly and stick to it. But do expect a tantrum from her when you do that. Not the jerk. No is a complete sentence. Keep setting boundaries and being consistent. I know it's hard when it's your own mother, but it's all the more reason to keep it up. Your time and property are not hers to offer. Not the jerk. I think you've trained your mom to believe you'll always say yes whenever she volunteers you or your things for something. It's time to re-educate her. You do not have to lend your things out if she wants you to do so. You do not have to give your time if she volunteers that. This will be difficult, but keep telling her no. Keep telling her to have the pastor, or neighbor, or whoever call you themselves if they need your stuff or your time so badly. You might even have to tell your mom that the answer will automatically be no if she has said that you'd loan something out. The paper I wrote isn't to your standards? Have fun reading a thesis. In my town, there are two colleges. One is a private institution for those with a lot of money, and the other is a run-of-the-mill state college with nothing notable about it. I attend the latter due to my not wanting to take out a copious amount in student loans, and the professors that teach there are a gamble in terms of quality. This is where our antagonist, who we'll refer to as Mr. V, comes into play. I had taken a Composition 2 class the semester prior and was on great terms with the man, even having sent a get-well-soon card to his office when he missed a week due to him being very ill. This is all to say that he and I were pretty close, and, with my grades being 95 or more on every assignment, we never had any spats academically either. Come the following semester, where I needed to take what the college referred to as a worldly elective in order to finish my associate's degree. I decided to take Shakespearean literature with this same man as my professor, and for the first few months, everything went swimmingly. Assignments got submitted on time, papers were graded with the same high marks I had been receiving, etc. This is where the issues come into play. This semester, since he and I were close and the class was Shakespearean literature, my papers were comedic in nature, and I didn't see a need to put my usual 110% into them. He never had a problem with this, going as far as to say he looked forward to reading them as my jokes would make him laugh. Then we got the play, The Tempest, which, in his words, was Shakespeare's magnum opus, and everything went downhill. I wrote my paper as usual, submitted it, and within 48 hours I got an email telling me how disgusted he was of my behavior and that the paper was a pathetic excuse research-wise and a joke format-wise. He said he'd give me one more attempt, but not to expect much leniency in the future, to which I responded, "You'll have it back within 72 hours. I was livid, infuriated beyond belief that 7 papers in, he got mad at how I wrote and formatted it for the sole reason that it was about his favorite play. He wants a paper that will wow him. I'll wow him all right. I traded shifts with some of my coworkers, and for the next 72 hours, I wrote an 8-page paper about why The Tempest is Shakespeare's worst works, citing some crucial names in the literary world and providing close to 20 sources claiming this to be true. I had other professors at the college proofread it, as well as family and friends of mine who excel in all things literature, just to be double sure of its quality, and submitted it exactly 72 hours later. The paper was given a perfect 100, and I never heard from him outside of class again. According to a friend of mine who took that class the next year, he no longer claims that Tempest is the best work by Shakespeare, and as a whole, seemed defeated about even teaching the class. Am I the jerk for not splitting my trust fund with my half-sister, even though she's pregnant? I, female 23, have a half-sister, Kylie, who's 21, who's the product of one of my dad's affairs. Her birth resulted in my parents splitting up. Mom remarried 2 years later, and my dad moved away shortly after the split and wasn't really part of my life. I always knew about Kylie, but I only met her when I was 16 through my father, and while we saw each other a few times over the next few years, we never developed a relationship. For most of the past 2 decades, my father has been a gambling addict. He's never had much of a stable income and definitely not a stable lifestyle. Because of this, my grandparents fulfilled all the financial stipulations in his divorce. They paid for my education, paid child support to my mother, and set up a trust fund, which I got when I turned 21. This was all an unofficial arrangement, and they did not do this for Kylie. I met my fiance at 19, so I've never used any of the money in the trust fund. 2 weeks ago, I was at my dad's for dinner. We live in the same city, and he said that Kylie had asked for my phone number. I said it was okay to give it to her. My dad also mentioned that Kylie is now pregnant. A few days after this, I got a call from Kylie. She explained that she's working a minimum wage job and living in accommodation that will be unsuitable when she gives birth. She said that since I had a trust fund that she also should have got, I should split it with her so that her kid doesn't have to go through what she did. I was totally blindsided by this and said I would think about it. She called me every day after that, saying how she had a lot of expenses now that she was pregnant and guilt-tripping me, saying the family owes her. I talked to my grandfather, and he said while it's my money, he thinks I'd be an idiot to hand out large sums of money to someone I don't even know and who only wants to know me because she wants money. Ultimately, I felt he was right, and I told Kylie I wouldn't be splitting the money with her. She started screaming at me, calling me selfish and spoiled, and basically dumped 20 years of drama at my door because I had the audacity to be born. She also said it will be my fault if something happens to her baby or if he or she grows up poor. I hung up the phone and cried. My grandparents and fiance say I've done the right thing. My dad said he's offered to give Kylie some money, but he doesn't have access to the kind of money in the trust fund because of his addiction. But he said I'm not to blame and that Kylie isn't my responsibility. The things she said about her life and about her kid's future were so awful, I can't stop thinking about it. I don't think I'm the jerk for not wanting to give huge amounts of money to a virtual stranger, especially one who was so demanding and rude to me. But I also don't like to think I'm punishing her future baby for who their mother is. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk, not by a long shot. You don't have a relationship with Kylie. Nothing about her situation is your fault or your responsibility. It's your money and you have no obligation to give it to her, pregnant or not. Not the jerk. Kylie is not your responsibility, but that of her parents. That said, one doesn't make a baby and blame others for that kid's living conditions. She has a responsibility to her baby, not you. And if it wasn't because of money, she wouldn't give two hoots about you. Go and enjoy your trust fund. Am I the jerk for telling my nephew the truth? That no one in the family likes him? This involves me, 25 male, my sister, Diana, who's 31, and her son, Darius, who's 10. I get along with Diana fine, but I won't pretend I like Darius. I think he's an entitled brat who's gotten away with crap far too many times. I don't think Diana has ever reprimanded him, and every time the little jerk acts up, Diana makes excuses for him. He's already been suspended from school for stealing. He's a bully to all of his cousins, and I know for a fact that no one in my family likes him at all. Both of my parents can't stand him. My mother, a woman who could find the love in her heart to babysit a honey badger, refuses to watch Darius at all because of his behavior. My father will take all of the grandkids out to fish every few months, except for Darius, because he's so tempted to throw him into the lake and drive off. His words, not mine. On Monday, I got a call from my sister, who panicked because she got called into work. Darius was out of school and her babysitter was not available. No one else in the family will watch Darius, so I told her to drop him off and I would watch him. It was a nightmare. Darius was mad he had to spend his day off at my place. He refused to do anything I offered, made a mess in my bathroom, harassed my dog, and had a tantrum because I wouldn't let him use my work computer to play games. By lunchtime, I was frustrated beyond all belief. I made him mac and cheese, and he demanded I take him to Wendy's. He refused to eat and eventually dumped his bowl of food on the floor. At that, I just kinda lost it. I didn't yell or get aggressive at all. I just sighed and asked him if he realized that everyone in the family literally despised him. I explained that he was at my house because Grandma and Grandpa can't stand him, and in fact refused to let him come to their house because he acts like a little jerk. I won't lie, I was being honest. He started crying and locked himself in my bathroom until he came out and sat and watched TV until my sister came and got him. I told her what happened, and we got into a massive argument as well. She called me cruel, and I told her that she's to blame, and he would have learned eventually. My family is split on this. My dad thinks the little jerk deserved it, while my siblings have mixed opinions. My mother has told me she's staying out of this, but if I feel the need to apologize, do it and move on. What do you people think? He's 10. He's being raised badly. He didn't just wake up one day and decide, you know what, I'm gonna be a total jerk to everyone. This is your sister's failure. And as much as he is a total little jerk, it's not entirely his fault, because he's 10 and he's never been taught better. Did he need a serious talking to? Yes. Was your way the right way to do it? Not really. It's better to talk about behavior and outcomes than make it about the kid. Instead of telling him that his actions caused people in the family to not want to be around him, which I would applaud, you told him that his grandparents loathe him, himself. It's not very effective because it doesn't give him anything to change. Behaviors can be changed, but if you tell a kid that everyone can't stand them, that's them as a whole, not something they can change. It's not like telling a jerk adult that everyone dislikes them because they're a jerk. An adult can figure out what that means and deal with it. But a kid, their family is their whole world and all of the people they rely on. And you told him that basically everyone in his world loathes his very being. That's what makes it cruel. I really don't want to call you a jerk because I'm not sure I would have lasted even till lunchtime with that little jerk. But it wasn't the right way. A regretful, everyone sucks here. You're the jerk 100%. I'm a teacher, so I sympathize with having to deal with behavioral problems like this, but you focus on the behavior as the problem, not the kid. You do not tell a kid that nobody likes them, especially their own family. That's how you give kids social anxiety, not how you fix behavior. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or not? Please let us know. I sent my cousin the bill for my kid's birthday cake after her kid ruined it. We recently threw my 5-year-old a birthday party. He hasn't had a real birthday party since he was 2 years old due to lockdown, so this was the first one he'd actually remember. We wanted to make it special, so we invited all of our closest friends, family members, and their kids. One of my cousins, a single mom, has a very unruly 6-year-old. He's loud, disobedient, and a nightmare in public. When it came time to blow out the candles and cut the birthday cake, he came and stood directly next to my son. I anticipated what was going to happen next and asked my husband to stand behind this kid in case he tried to pull anything. After we sang, this kid kept trying to blow out the candles. My husband kept blocking him and pulling him back, and we could tell the kid was getting frustrated. Eventually, my son blew out the candles, and the kid absolutely lost it. He threw a tantrum and slammed his entire arm into the cake, knocking it into the table. It was so awkward, everyone just gasped and got quiet. My son looked up at us, and I could tell he was about to start crying. In an effort to not cause a bigger scene, my husband picked him up and whispered to him that we had another special cake just for him. We didn't, and he seemed to calm down. Meanwhile, his cousin was still standing there screaming and crying, his arm covered in cake. His mom was nowhere to be seen. I walked him over to the sink and washed him off and quietly told him that he shouldn't have done that to the cake and that he should apologize to his cousin for what he did. He screamed, "No!" in my face and then ran away. My husband ended up running out to buy a sheet cake that we cut and served to everyone. I spoke to my cousin after the party about what happened since she wasn't in the room, and she brushed it off, saying, "Kids will be kids." I completely disagree. I've been to plenty of birthday parties where the other kids let the birthday boy or birthday girl have their moment. I suggested that she pay for the ruined cake, and she looked at me like I was crazy. I told her how important it was to us that this birthday be special to my son, since it would be the first one he remembered, and now all he would remember was that his cousin ruined his special moment. She got extremely defensive and refused to pay for anything. She then accused me of acting like the perfect mom and began to list the ways in which I was in fact not perfect. It was a hurtful conversation and we haven't spoken since. I sent her the bill for the ruined cake and she has not paid us. I actually feel she should pay for both cakes since her kid is the reason we had to get a new one, but I didn't go that far. My husband thinks she'll never pay us and that I should drop the issue at this point. He says that since she's a single mom, it's probably hard on her and we should cut them both some slack. I understand that, but I feel like that's just letting her and her son off the hook, and this will lead to even bigger problems in the future if we don't hold them accountable. Am I the jerk here? Not the jerk, but you'll never get your money, and I think you made the point. The kid is a jerk because the parent is a jerk. No longer invite them to any parties and enjoy your immediate family because they seem nice. Bring down all the servers during the day? Why not? At the height of the subprime mortgage market, around 2007, When all it took to qualify for a home loan was that you were breathing, I reluctantly took a job with a mid-sized lender that had the headquarters in one state and a large office in another, where I was. We had very recently combined 2 local offices and moved into a shiny new building we had all to ourselves. In order to keep the servers up during a power outage, we had a massive battery backup array. They wanted these servers to remain powered for a minimum of 12 hours in case the power went out. We had 32 batteries daisy-chained together, with 1 unit serving as the control unit. When we moved this massively heavy battery array from the old building to the new, getting it all reconnected was one of my duties. I got them all stacked and connected and turned on. Before we had connected the servers, I made sure they were all aligned properly, and at one point gave one a little bump to move it just a bit, and the whole thing shut off. After double-checking everything, I concluded we had a bad controller that could continue to present intermittent problems. The VP of IT, we'll just call him VP, had flown out to oversee the move. The guy was just a kid of 23, and if I recall correctly, he was the son of a friend of the founders. He was a smart guy, just inexperienced, and had an ego that far exceeded his skills and experience. So I told him, "Hey VP, there's a fault in the battery array. If you bump it a little, it goes off." VP replies, "Don't worry about it, Jake. Just get it up and running so we can get the servers connected." So I did. This was not the malicious compliance. 3 months down the road, everything in the new office is humming along, and it's time to catch up on lingering tasks. On the phone with VP, and he says, "Jake, go reconfigure the controller card for the battery array with the IP address I just emailed you." You guessed it, cue malicious compliance. I knew what was very likely to happen, and I purposely did not remind VP of the instability of the controller card. So after the call, I grabbed a serial cable and my laptop and went down to the server room. The moment I plugged that cable into the controller card of the battery array, the entire thing went down like a drunk on an icy sidewalk. Normally, this wouldn't be a huge issue, but this was a mortgage company, and it was early afternoon on the last day of the month. Interest rates had been locked and loans had to be closed. I powered the battery array back on, fired up the servers, collected my laptop, and walked out. As I came up the back stairs into the main office area, it was pandemonium. No one quite understood what had happened yet. The VP called me and asked what had happened. I replied, "I only did what you told me to do. I went to reconfigure the controller card for the battery array and then reminded him that I had previously reported it as faulty." I, of course, got the blame for the whole debacle. Hundreds of loans didn't get closed that day. The predatory lender lost out on a lot of money, and I was about to be fired. When I got back to the tech room, I started copying all my files, etc. to a CD because I knew what was going to happen. I also had a talk with the VP of lending and explained what really happened. At the end of the workday, I was brought into the conference room by HR. The VP was on speakerphone. "Jake, this is all your fault, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to let you go." I was stoic in my reply. "No, this is your fault. I warned you before that the controller was bad." He said, "You knew it was the last day of the month. You should have known to wait the next day," and proceeded to start yelling and screaming at me because he had to deflect because HR was right there. I stopped him in the middle of seething and said, VP, you fired me, right?" He shot back, "You're darn right I did." So I stood up, took a calm, deep breath and said, "Then I don't need to sit here and listen to you," and I walked out, leaving my laptop behind. I could hear the speakerphone jumping off the conference room table as he screamed at me to come back. I stopped, laughed, and kept on walking. Best day of work I ever had. Edit. For those that said I should have reminded him, it wouldn't have mattered a bit. He dismissed pretty much everything I ever said to him that wasn't following orders, and if something went wrong, he was never to blame. He was arrogant and inexperienced and never took advice. Also, the company as a whole was highly predatory, something I didn't know when I started. Am I the jerk for storming out after I didn't like the birthday present I was given? I, 20 female, recently turned 20 and had a party to celebrate turning 20. It was a small gathering at my favorite sushi restaurant with only my immediate family and a few friends. Everything was going well until it came time for the presents. You see, in my family, there's this tradition that when the firstborn turns 20, they are given this pocket watch that was owned by my great-grandfather. When our country was still colonized by the British, he, my great-grandfather, was taken in by some missionaries and became a teacher. As a teacher, he was super instrumental to the community and partly funded the first Black-owned school there. He became headmaster, and as a thanks, the community chipped in to get him a pocket watch. When my grandfather turned 20, he was given the watch, and it became a tradition. As per tradition, I was expecting to get the watch. I had even made an effort of hinting how I wanted a watch for the whole year prior. Among the presents, I saw this small box and got excited thinking it was the watch. The watch came in this wooden casing with a velvet lining inside, and it was about the same size as the box I saw. I made a deliberate choice to open that box last to make sure the night ended on a highlight. When it came time to open the box, it was a watch, but a digital one. It was a good watch, to be honest, but it wasn't the watch. My dad was excited as he went on prattling about the features of the watch. It could count steps, connect to my phone via Bluetooth, control music, measure my heart rate, etc. While he was talking, I burst into tears and left the table running. My dad follows and asks why I was sad, and I said I wanted the watch, the one that belonged to my great-grandfather. He said he wanted to give it to my younger brother, who is 12, since he's a boy. If he gives it to me, it will leave the family since I'll get married to a man and join his family. This came as a blow since I've always been closer to my dad than my brother was, and my brother isn't even interested in the watch like I have been my whole life. We got into an argument, and it ended with him saying my immaturity over such a small matter is why he wouldn't have given the watch to me even if I was a boy. I left after he said that. That was 2 weeks ago, and we haven't spoken since. So, am I the jerk? Edit. It's always been the firstborn who gets it, but the firstborns have always been men since the tradition started. I'm the first female firstborn. I suppose I shouldn't have stormed out. I'm 20 now after all. I was super overwhelmed by my feelings. I'm prone to tears, always have been, but I should have calmed myself, especially since it was a public place. Not the jerk. Your father is passing you over for an important family heirloom because you're not a boy. I don't blame you for getting upset. I honestly don't get how people are saying not the jerk. She's not entitled to the watch. You're the jerk big time. Because Reddit is an echo chamber of entitled jerks who have no experience in the real world or in a functioning society. They would call this horrible if the roles were reversed, except they would still say the man is the jerk for trying to take away a female heirloom. It's tragic, but I don't know what you really expect. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.